So how do you build rapport then?
For overall, or you mean with that?
Let's just say like overall, like somebody, because this is something that in sales we all know we're supposed to do it. Now, back when I worked at Indeed, this is how it would go. Hey, Chris, this is Logan with Indeed. How are you doing today? And you would go, oh, I'm doing well. And I go, okay, great. Just real quick before we get started, how's the weather for you? Like, I remember, I've told this story before, but I remember being at CarMax selling my car, and what the guy does, and I felt bad. But what happens is when you sell your car at CarMax, they test drive your car. Now, while you're test driving it, another salesperson, because they're trying to like figure out like the valuation of the car, another salesperson, their goal is to sell you a car, because if you're selling one, now you need one. And what the guy does is he comes back to me and he has the valuation of what my car is, and his goal is to now sell me one. And he goes, all right, Logan, I got the valuation in my hand. Now I got to ask you one thing before I show you this. I'm like, okay. He goes, do you like sports? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, man, it's cool. He's like, yeah, me too. What team do you like? And it was just like the worst.
It was cringeworthy.
Dude, it was so bad. And maybe that's why in my mind, like, I don't like focusing on the rapport stuff, because like to me, that's not important.
Well, it's gotta be candid and genuine.
It's gotta be genuine.
So for me, like you said, like what do I do for rapport? Like, first and foremost, I'm in a situation where I truly believe in the product that I have. I truly see how it changes people's lives. I truly believe that there's a lot of conviction when it comes to I'm talking to somebody, right? Also, there's honesty. Here, when I'm cold calling someone, I'm not giving them some swindle situation where I'm trying to get their time. Hey Logan, you don't know me, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is actually a cold call. Would you like to hang up on me? Or can I get 30 seconds of your time? So now I've given them an option. I haven't just like coerced them to having a conversation with me about, oh, hey Logan, hey man, it's me, it's Chris. You don't know me, or whatever it may be. So I think that being honest, being candid, being, having just genuine care for someone goes a long, long way. And what else I do is, because I care so much about like the customer and I truly believe in what we have, it's really, really easy for me to reach out to them throughout the entire process. We'll sell a website to somebody, and it's, and I hope he doesn't care right now, I'm gonna use his name. Frank's probably one of my favorite clients we have right now, because Frank is a good soundboard for me, and also he's just a good client, right? And he's bought a little while ago. I mean, he's not spending more money where I can now, it's valuable to me about him spending money. The money's already spent. Now it's like, Frank told me, oh, I'm going to Disney World. Frank's told me, hey, like, I want to know, like, what do you want to see your website do? Like, what's it supposed to do? Like, what's the function of your website? Okay, well, it does these things. If I have a clear understanding of that, I get to do a couple of things, right? One, I get to hop in front of problems before they become problems. So, those problems are going to fester and become big problems. So how can I hop in front of that so I know what's really going on with him? I can be able not only to take care of that for him, but if he's experiencing that, I'm sure other clients are too. So we can come here, we can strategize and make sure we're taking care of all our clients in that way. Two, sometimes they just want to talk. Sometimes it's just a conversation, and we can kind of, let a load off real quick and be able to, be humans for a little bit. It's not, client and salesperson, it's humans. If you get really lucky, like, we'll be able to leverage that sometimes, and they even give us referrals. Hey, this is also going on in this situation, or hey, I got this situation, Frank. Help me be able to walk this person through an issue that you had to deal with previously. And you get to kind of like block competitors as well when you do that, because when you now have genuinely cared, you got in front of bad problems, you made sure you checked in with people, then your competition doesn't have a chance with your client, because of the fact that now it's like, why would I go anywhere else? They're totally invested in me. I don't have to, it's like the idea of like, dating. Did you ever do online dating at all? Did you ever?
Well, I use the apps, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I did too. And I think that for me, I hated it because of the fact that I hated starting over every single time. Feeling like I had to go through like the pleasantries.
Like the small talk.
Yeah.
Like, so what do you do?
Exactly.
Why are you single?
Exactly. But, you know, but sometimes like when you already have a connection with someone, like you grew up together, whatever it may be, it's like, I don't have to go through all that. We already have a relationship. Let's work on this relationship that's already, you know, that has maybe a couple issues. Let's work on that versus me starting over with somebody else that I can find out in 3 months from now, 2 months from now, 2 weeks from now, 4 years from now, that this is not the best fit for me either. So, you know, I think there's so much value in gaining rapport. It has to be a consistent thing. It doesn't just happen the first phone call and you let them go.
So are you, and when you keep talking about all this stuff, are you discussing rapport on the phone, or are you discussing the end user, the client, the customer, need to have trust and rapport built with you before they even call?
It's both.
Okay, because like for most people, they look at trust before the sales call, and then on the sales call, they look at this same idea as rapport. Hey, in your sales call, because like there's like, and even with like sales training and stuff, they teach you need to build rapport before you go into it.
Yeah, I mean, what's that whole phrase? I mean, part of, I know it kind of has different words, but part of your marketing is rapport.
It is. I mean, trust and rapport to me is this. It's very similar. They're like very close cousins, like potentially even like kissing cousins. So the trust piece is like beforehand, but the rapport on the call is like, it's still a trust factor, but they just say it's like, oh, you're building rapport. But a lot of times I think we either, I mean, at least me personally, I either skip the rapport, or it's like, and I try to build it during the call of like, hey, I'm just curious, like, what made you start this company? Like, those are the things that I'm curious about, but it's like genuine, or I just suck at the rapport and I stupid ass questions.
I think I would be wrong, and I would be like remiss if I didn't say that if the person's not your client and you go too heavy on rapport, then you're going to lose that person. And the reason I say that is because it sounds kind of maybe counterintuitive, but you don't like, okay, we are a unique situation, right? We're friends. We work together. You know, you cut my checks, and, you know, you better cut a big one this week. But anyway, but the reality is we had to have a real conversation. Before this became a situation, we had to have a real conversation. Like, hey man, like what I'm not willing to do is have our friendship in jeopardy because of some work situation. I can go, I have skills that, you know, that I can go work somewhere else. I would love to help you out and be able to be part of this team, but I'm not going to challenge that for, you know, a couple bucks, right? So when you don't really want to buy from a friend, you know, you want someone to have authority figure in a sense to buy from, because you want them to be the expert, and you don't, and I know that sounds kind of weird, and maybe I'll ask your questions or your opinions on that, but what I've noticed is people that I get too friendly with, people that want to talk to me about the military for, you know, oh, you're in the military? Oh, yeah, I spent some time in the military, and I'm just kind of quiet about it. Oh, you know, yeah, this, that, and the third, I did this. Like, those people don't never go forward. Those people are, you know, those people don't go forward, and nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying, but I think that the people that have gone forward that were in the military, we talk about this stuff after the fact. So
because it's like their intention of the call switches. It goes from like, you know, hey, let's talk about growing the business, to like, oh, actually, I've got something that's more important than growing my business, having small talk with you about your history.
Yeah.
So I guess that sounds like if you were in the military, don't be afraid to bring it up to Chris. But if you're going to hop on the phone, just understand that you are both there for a purpose. Chris you can't help contractors, and you can't help yourself by making commission unless they want to pay you for military story consulting. But they don't. I mean, like, they're there for a specific reason. You're there for a specific reason. And when it comes to building rapport with clients, like, it's cool to have commonalities, because I'm in Charlotte. Whenever somebody calls me from Maryland, we do a brief, like, oh, yeah, I grew up in Silver Spring. And they're like, oh, you know, I'm up in here. And we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then get right into it. And that's my rapport. But it's not like, oh, okay, like, tell me your history. Like, are you always from Maryland? Like, do you like the Terps? You like, you know, it's like, I'm not like, and that's, I know Billie Jean has one of those things where part of his 70-30 is 70-30, 70-30. Actually, he might be 80-20, but it's, you know, you talking versus them. And the next thing is, of you talking, it should be 70-30, you asking questions versus them. Versus you making statements. And then the last 70-30 is you talking about the product or service, and then you building rapport. And the idea is that if you spend an hour building rapport, and then it's like, okay, let's talk about the actual service that you called me for, they're going to be like, well, I got to go. And they're going to resent you for it. So a lot of times, like, that's something that I struggle with on calls, is like when I talk to somebody who starts going off on too many tangents about stuff that is irrelevant. And sometimes it's good, and people want to be heard, but you also got to understand that, like, if you are there to sell them a kitchen remodeling project and they're talking about their dogs for the first minute or two, that's fine. But if you're at minute 25, you're not there to sell them a kitchen. You're there because, like, they just want a friend to talk to, but they're not going to move forward.